action, and welcome everybody. This is PnP Weekly episode 217. It was season 8, episode 2. It is 4th of September 2023, and today we have a visitor who is a, what was it, Microsoft 365 developer was probably the right term.
And consultant.
Yes.
Jack of all trades.
Dan Toft from Denmark is joining us for a discussion on what does it mean to be a Microsoft 365 developer and a consultant, and talk about his contribution also on the community side, where he's been really, really active within the past years. Years is a good way of saying that, yes. And he's also one of the winners on the Teams Hackathon. What was the Teams Hackathon again, Waldek?
Yeah, it is a hackathon that we've done in May already. Wow, time flies. So it was a hackathon that we've done in May. Exactly, right? Time flies. It was all about building apps for Teams, right? And
yes.
Dan and his colleague, they made a really cool app that they're going to show on September the 5th on the community call, right?
Yep.
They're going to show a demo of their app. So if you want to see what their app is and was really, really cool, stay tuned for the recording of that or attend live if you still get a chance. I don't know by that time when this becomes available and if you're still on time.
It depends on when you're processing things. So, it's
Yes.
Now, on the PnP Weekly, I always talk about the latest on Microsoft 365 areas and focus on latest articles and videos and tweets and all of that stuff. We talk about that one on top of the interview. But let's first go to the interview with Dan and then come back on the weekly articles. Excellent. Let's get started. So welcome, Dan, on the PnP Weekly episode 217. Yes, I'm watching the meeting invite, so confirming that. So Dan, let's start with the basics. Who are you and what do you do for a living?
Yeah, my name is Dan. I'm a Microsoft 365 developer consultant kind of thing. I do a little bit of everything. Based in Denmark. Do a lot of samples SPFX mainly when I do community work. Been doing this for close to 5 years now, little over, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was an interesting statement from you in the social media related on, hey, so you started the PnP Weekly on the year you started your career, which is like, Waldek, we're old.
Wow, yeah, totally. I mean,
your experience,
surprising, right? Because I started this part of my career in 2006, and that is already 17 years.
True.
2006, I've been in grade 3.
See?
I'm gonna go to my corner now.
I joined Microsoft in 2006 as well, so there we go. I've started with SharePoint on that year, so there we go.
Wow,
so.
We've been around for a while. Also, in a way, you haven't missed anything then. Everything.
Yeah, exactly, Dan. You haven't. Yes, we introduced functionalities and then we deprecated them and took them away, and now we're saying AI, and Teams and SPFX and Microsoft 365, cool, and cloud.
Well, but
right?
To be honest, if I look back at the things that we've done in the past, big part of it is still around. We still have content types, and yes, you don't do maybe the technical bits have changed.
Types. Sorry.
What's that? Oh, because it's top of mind. I might as well take files and document libraries and lists.
Yes. Files still exist. That's good.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, and sure, maybe a few, technical things changed along the way, and things look way better. Although, back in 2006, when we got the ribbon, it's was it the ribbon? No.
2013 was ribbon.
Yeah, exactly.
No, 2010 was
2010.
ribbon.
2010. Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yes.
Right. So back then, that was oh my God, this looks so great. And then so every single time, every 3 years back then, when we had a release, things looked better. And now we kind of have the same thing where the modern sites look way better than classic sites that looked awesome at some point. So I think it's just the ongoing, ever evolving pattern of things improving. But in the grand scheme of things, it's the same thing.
We're seeing rounded corners and everything. That was the thing 5-10 years ago.
Exactly.
Now then everything became flat. Now it's sort of coming back. We want more
reinventing corners. Yes.
So that's the one thing which is always interesting in the IT, definitely, because somebody comes up with hey, I have this great idea. now let's make them round. That's like, yeah, we saw that 10 years ago already. Or let's not actually do microservices. Let's do autonomic big functions, and
Monolith.
they will do, because they're monolith, they're more performant. Yes, we've seen this as well. So it's funny how we always kind of move in cycles and going back on things.
I'm having a great time because I'm sort of going through the first iteration of that. Like now everything needs to change in my career.
Exactly.
Well,
I'm just looking around.
5 years in, I think you're now on the verge of the change, the first change. And then if you wait five more years, you'll be back.
Yes. And then you'll be like,
I'm feeling myself getting more grumpy. Like, I'm like, no, I don't want to change. The thing we're doing is working.
No, it's called experience.
Yes. The grumpiness, the experience equals grumpiness level, right? So.
Well, I think, it's an interesting thing, right? Because like things change, things evolve, and you will see, things pendulum swing like back and forth, and it takes like you need, like, it's easy to become disenchanted, sarcastic about it, but it's just like, and like it's how things work. Like, things change. Things are never static. So it's just a part of how things work, and that's a part of working in the IT. Speaking of which, let's get back to you. You mentioned that you work on Microsoft 365 as a dev. M365 is a big space. Which areas particularly you work with the most?
So definitely mostly SharePoint. I did a lot of so back when I started 5 years ago, I started as an intern. Coming out, I did a degree in I guess it's computer science, but it's way shorter than like the university degree. It's a 2.5 years kind of thing where you just learn the fundamentals.
Bachelor's of whatever.
Well, it's not actually a bachelor's, but doesn't matter. It
doesn't matter. Yeah,
concise computer
Nobody
science
has never asked the study papers, which I have, so
no,
it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. Never showed them to anyone.
Exactly.
It was actually kind of funny because I had a student job where I was in first level IT supporter, and I swore I'd never want a job where I had to work with users again.
True.
And you became consultant.
Yeah, exactly.
And somehow that's where I got an internship. And did a lot of SPFX for like half a year as my internship. Back in the days of like version 1.6 or 1.7, quite a while ago. And that kind of stuck around. And then added on later a bunch of or we're calling it back-end stuff. I guess it's more like just C# and .NET to do those things that we can't do in SPFX for whatever reason, whether that be permissions or something else. So generally in the SharePoint space, more and more moving towards Teams as well. Especially that now it's gotten so easy to do something in SPFX and bring it into Teams. That makes it really easy for us to help show users what's possible.
Absolutely. How does sorry, Waldek. So how does the business look like? Obviously, we don't need to go to the numbers and all of the details and all of that, but is a corporate communication portal still a thing? I'm being a bit more intentionally sarcastic or pushy on the question, but is that a thing what people are asking?
I think people are so like if we go to the broad intranet, I think it's still a thing. It's less of a thing. It's more of a link aggregator, really. That what we see people do. Some organizations, but I think because the space we're in a lot of like small to medium businesses. There's still of the like consensus that we don't need it because everybody knows what's going on. So we're doing a lot of like intranets that are just here are links to everything else that we've done. More so than a communication portal.
And so especially in the SMB space, right? So in the small and medium, how do they do internal comms, right? Like, let's say announcements or events. Do they use email? Do they use Viva Engage? Do they do it on Teams? Do they have like team with everyone in there? How do they post, I don't know, let's call it internal announcements or news?
So the like classic one is the Teams channel with everyone in it and just tagging the everyone thing and just sending messages that way. Yeah.
Yes.
And then I guess we have a lot of clients who actually still do SharePoint news, which works great because it's pretty fast to communicate something. And
Yep.
now we're soon getting the Outlook feature, which is actually kind of neat, and kind of at the same time, I'm on the verge where I'm going, well, shouldn't we try to bring people to the news and not push the news out into Outlook where they used to be? We're not actually seeing a lot of adoption on the Viva Connections thing yet. I think we're still, a lot of people are screaming for customizations, and I think I read somewhere that there's more to come. Not that I actually know what that will be, but we're hoping for more customizations that will make it more corporate, because that's a lot of the things we're hearing is, well, this looks good, but I want it to be mine.
Correct. And all of that is in the pipeline. I've seen cool stuff, but I can't talk about it. So,
another thing that I want to ask you, right? So you began your SharePoint or M365 career inside SPFX. To what extent do you look into other technology stacks? I don't know, let's say server-side node development or other web frameworks and React to kind of get a bigger, like, to what extent are you focusing specifically on SPFX, or do you also look at other technologies and kind of trying to put in perspective what we have in SPFX versus what you could use elsewhere?
So certainly I do. Mostly on the side, I'll do React apps and like try and hosting a website with Node just to try it out, because it's one of those things where I guess I like to know what's going on behind the scenes. So when something isn't working, I don't stop at, okay, I got it working. I want to know what is actually going on. So I don't actually do server-side Node for any clients that I can think of. Whenever we do something server-side there, it's just .NET, most likely functions. If we need a website, then usually a React app. Actually, you can do there's a template in Visual Studio that works great, and we'll just spin up a React site hosted with .NET in the backend.
Oh, interesting. So with that experience in mind, what is Dan's perspective on SPFX and the state of SPFX? Is it modern? Is it up for renewal, refresh, changing the oil,
you can be open
refreshing
and
break?
Yeah, this is good. This is good.
No. So one of the things that actually keeps coming up is the fact that there's, and I guess internally there's a bunch of like legacy stuff that we're continuously moving forward. I remember seeing a while back that there were still some clients who had a SLA on SPFX working in Internet Explorer, therefore we couldn't update certain things. I'm assuming that's gone now. But we're certainly running.
Stop using Internet Explorer.
What is Internet Explorer?
Yes. That has, by the way, that has followed up since mid 90s. So.
So I guess we're definitely seeing some places where we would like to see improvement as well. One of the things that comes up a lot is the build target is like ES5, I believe. So there's just so many nice things that we're missing out. Where every single time we're writing our own, find the first element that matches this or something with it.
Yeah.
And we can change those things, but then we're at our own risk. So certainly there's room for a SPFX version 2 at some point. And probably not called SPFX either. It seems like that name is getting dated by the minute.
Because of the extended scopes, so that they can use SPFX to build for SharePoint, Viva, Teams, and Outlook
and Office. Yeah.
So I mean, calling it SharePoint framework seems to us it's fine because we know it, but it's confusing to newcomers.
True. Because they would be asking, what is SharePoint? Because the newcomers don't necessarily have that background information, which makes perfect sense. So, how do you get? Sorry.
I'm having 2 interns right now for a half a year, and that's one of the things that we have to start. It's like, so we're going to be building with SharePoint framework, but you're going to be building apps that will run in Teams and Outlook and everywhere else, and they will be like, what do you mean?
What is their that is an interesting thing. Like, what is their first reaction or perspective to SPFX as a development platform, toolkit, toolchain?
So in this case, a lot of it is that they've played with React for a week, so they're starting from pretty scratch. But one of the things that they always find pretty cool, having done a couple of rounds of interns, is the deployment process of SPFX is just like you run 3 commands, you drag a file in, you have uploaded it, and it's there and it's live.
Yep.
Which for people coming from school, it's always awesome because they might never have deployed anything.
Yep.
Now being able to take their laptop home, open it up, not having to open any code, and show their parents what they built, they're always like mind blown.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that part of SPFX is actually really awesome. Like the whole hosting, it's easy.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Whenever you do something with Teams Toolkit, it will do a lot of the Azure configuration for you, but just being able to drag a file in there and it being done, it's pretty neat.
And in Teams Toolkit, even though that does the configurations, you don't use Teams Toolkit for deployment in the production because you would not have the right permissions there as a developer. So it's not like
on my tenant, I can do anything I want.
That's true. Your tenant, yes.
Everything always works on a tenant of one.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. That's absolutely true. Now, related, actually, you mentioned the Teams development and SPFX and Teams and all of that stuff. You actually built a really cool solution in the Teams hackathon, which you're going to demo actually in upcoming community call. From a timing perspective, it's a bit hard if somebody's watching this a bit later because it happened already.
But you know the date?
September the 5th.
September the 5th, 2023. Yeah. So that's in the recording as well. But can you talk a bit about what you did and what was that all about? And why was that pattern chosen?
Absolutely. So what I actually built it with a colleague, but what we built is a app that will allow the IT admins to see a list of all guest users in their tenant. And that
using Microsoft Graph, of course. So
yeah, using Graph to get the users, and you can using Graph, we can do a bunch of things. We can see which teams the users are a member of, when they last signed in, when they were created. We can disable their account, delete their account.
Yep.
And it was actually sort of a thing where the hackathon came up, and I was like, well, I want to participate. I want to build something. And then the very same day, I had a client bring up something that I hear quite a lot, which is, which guest users do I have in my tenant, and what did they have access to?
Yep.
And I mean, there are a bunch of products on the market that will actually do that way better than what we built. But what we built was just a baseline, like get a list of my guests and see when are they actually active. Because what we found, we ran it on our own tenant, is we'll have a bunch of users who are guests, but they're never actually active. They were active last time over a year ago. Yep. Let's get those disabled.
And you build that on SPFX, right? So you use Graph, you use SPFX. Any other tech you used? Have you used MGT, Microsoft Graph?
No, we actually did the whole thing using PnP.js, the community repository there, because it's pretty wide extended now for Graph as well.
Yep.
Build it using SPFX with the idea being that it could run anywhere. So the IT admin gets an email, hey, this guest seems to have too much access. Here's an Outlook, he can press the button. He gets a Teams message, he can press the button. It's always right there.
Yeah, that is really cool, yeah.
Yeah, so bringing it to the context of where you are.
And that was actually winner of the Teams Hackathon on the productivity category. So that's actually really, really cool. It was actually really well done video, by the way, and the solution. So really, really awesome stuff on that for both of you. So awesome stuff. Now, I wanted to come back on your story. You said that you had a 2.5 years worth of the studying and all of that. How do you get to be a Microsoft 365 developer? For anybody who's like, hey, I want to be a Microsoft 365 developer, what do I need to know? Or do you just...
realistically.
Maybe before that one step back.
Okay.
Why would somebody want to be an M365 developer from your
question? That is a good question.
It's like, if you could do it all over again, would you want to be M365 dev again or not?
Would you go to the Azure side or Google or AWS or?
No, so what I actually think is, so for me, I didn't have any opinion coming out of school what I wanted to do. I just wound up here. But one of the things that I found that I really like, and I'm finding that I can share with a lot of new people, is the whole how good the extensibility already is. Like not having to worry about a bunch of stuff. Sure, we have to do auth, but we don't have to worry about the authentication provider. It's just there. Like we get so much from the get-go that's like there's a hosting infrastructure already in place. Because I guess for me, I'm one of those developers who actually like talking to people as well. Which means the job as M365 dev is
talking to people.
Is pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's scary.
But, yes. Feel free. Sorry to interrupt.
No. So I guess for me, it's actually the thing is, I feel like I don't spend as much time doing hyper complex stuff that's like security and stuff, but I don't mind because I get to do what's like creating value for my end users, which is really awesome.
So that's the one thing. So obviously internally we are doing a lot of AI. I'm listening actually a lot of AI books as well as I walk out with the dogs. That's how I have time to read books because I listen them. But that's actually something which we always forget about, and I'm going to tie this into the AI and the evolution of AI in a second. But in Microsoft 365, you don't need to worry about the basics. You authentication, hosting, all of that stuff. Well, hosting partly, but anyway. So there's kind of a baseline abstraction for the functionalities what you have, and a similar thing. What will happen obviously in the AI side as well? It's the increasing the abstraction layer so that the developers, in this case developers for Microsoft 365, can focus on business functionalities and business problem solving. And of course the similar thing, I don't know why the AI came to my mind, but it's I'm thinking on my keynote, which is coming on next Saturday on the Collab Days of Finland, but it's the similar kind of a thing that it's not like end users within 5 years are going to go to ChatGPT or a UX and then start prompting. No, we're going to increase the abstraction layer. We're going to basically make the whole thing relevant, and it's there all the time, 24/7, like the authentication and baseline services in Microsoft 365. You as a developer, you don't need to worry about it. It just works. You can investigate it if you want, but you don't have to.
In theory, yes. In practice, we've been talking about, things like search-driven organizing content of that. 9 out of 10 people still put files in folders, hierarchical folders. So
yes.
don't overestimate people's abilities to use
No. But it's so I have no idea how I'm now guiding this discussion in here. Back in 90s when I started my IT studies, and yes, we're a bit older, and I still remember when the internet came and I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to focus on internet stuff at all because it's too complicated and it's evolving too fast. So I want to focus on network layer. So because that's kind of a logical, it's kind of these are the rules and then this is how it works, which obviously isn't the case because evolution goes forward. But it's not, and at the time it was explicitly told that, well, internet is going to be in every single role within the internet in the world will use computers and internet and have access on things. And back in 1990s, everybody's like, no, that's nonsense. That's not going to happen. But when I think about it, even the let's say garbage collector drivers, they use computers to do routing and logistics and all of that stuff nowadays. So it's the abstraction and the technology comes to be part of this world in a much more efficient way. And I have no idea why I'm guiding this discussion to this direction. But
we let you talk. This is your time, Vesa.
Yes, exactly. But it's the abstraction layer. The same thing. Actually, funny enough, I remember vividly back in, and I know Waldek can actually relate on this. At some point, Microsoft said, "Well, you should, whenever you do a website, you should do your SharePoint," which was actually like, that's not necessarily the smart thing to do. But that was also because SharePoint that takes care of the authentication and the baseline services and all of that. So it's kind of interesting. At least we move forward a bit from there. But it's still, of course, in Microsoft 365, if you're a partner and investing on it, there are baseline services which are taken care of for you. So
absolutely,
it's not. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think because you were on the abstraction thing about like for developers and stuff. I think actually GitHub Copilot might be a great example of that, where it's something, at least for me, I find it's actually increasing my productivity a lot. And especially I'm using the preview thing where you get the panel with the chat. And like you said, I'm not going to go to ChatGPT to write a prompt, but when the chat window is right there, I might actually ask it, what is this doing? Why is it not working the way I want it to?
Yep. When it's present. Yeah, sorry.
Well, what are the different things that you expect to be able to do with Copilot for work, right? Because like we all know the external one, but it doesn't have any access to any of your work. So like you need to over prompt it. You need to bring everything to it. What do you hope? Because I don't like disregard whether you've got the access or not to it now. But what are you hoping to be able to, I don't know, accomplish more easily or be able to do in the future when you will be able to use it in your work?
I'm gonna write some notes here.
So I guess first of all, the consultant answer would have to be my emails.
Okay.
It being able to not only like summarize an email, because we all have that client who sends pages long emails every single time, but also just like help out with the answers might actually be nice. And I think I saw somebody give the example of you getting back from vacation and being like, hey, summarize my emails that come in the past week, and like, what's the most important? Where should I focus? That kind of stuff seems,
which will increase your productivity, which will save your time, which is time is money, and therefore you can actually calculate the return of investment. Can you trust it though? That's the interesting piece. Not saying that you shouldn't be trusting the Copilot Microsoft 365, but as a Finn, at least, we're super realistic and we're always grounded on earth, and it's like, well, can I actually trust this? So it's going to be really interesting.
Emails are right there. You can always go through them.
Of course, yes.
Which is why it's called Copilot, not autopilot, right?
True.
But from the perspective of like writing an email, at least like having that blank email, I'm hoping it will, because obviously I'm going to read through it, at least the first 5 emails it sends. I'm going to read through it, and then maybe I'll gain more trust in it. But being able to like have a starting point is always awesome.
And also the same Teams meetings, summaries, and all of that recap. So
just getting a baseline is always like what we want.
Correct.
And as a dev, what do you hope to be able to do with it when it becomes available to everybody? The customers will work with it. What would you like to be able to do as a dev with it?
So I think for me, one of the most interesting scenarios is like being able to I guess put in the plumbing to connect it to external systems, because it's just a fact of life that seemingly not everybody thinks Microsoft is awesome for everything, and they have other systems. And being able to like connect it with that would obviously be really awesome. So we could like help people gather the information they need, so they are writing an email and it will actually pull from an external system and be like, hey, this is also a thing you might want to consider.
Have you also looked at plugins for OpenAI, ChatGPT, or not yet?
Can't say I have, no.
Okay.
But I guess that's sort of along the same line where you can connect that to separate systems.
Yes. So if you use actually Bing Chat, you kind of see how the integration works, or you can kind of come up with the conclusions that, this is how they're doing that, because with Bing Chat, you can say, what's the weather today in Helsinki? And it will give you the results. With ChatGPT, it would basically say, well, I don't know what's the situation today because I'm teached to a data until a certain time. So it doesn't have the on the moment of a information. But then using the plugins, we're basically able to then do the intent is about the weather today, so I'm integrated to MSW weather or whatever it's integrated, and then it will actually throw that information from there without itself having the knowledge about the weather, but the external system having the knowledge about what is your intent. So and the same idea is then in Copilot as well. So you're basically able to extend the Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, for this additional, you're looking into sales data from last quarter. Cool, I have access on this additional information here using this API, so let me get it to you, and then get the information.
So I guess actually sort of like a custom connector for the Power Platform.
Kind of, yes, but in a more natural, communication style, natural language way, and then really that you don't have to. I think the whole point of the AI and Copilot and all of that will be that you do not have to figure out the parameters and design the API and all of that stuff. No. You basically just say, I want to have knowledge about certain things, and then the system itself able to create the parameters and call the APIs and return that raw data in human understandable format. So that's kind of the
Well, you will still need to have AI, you will still need to have an API that somebody designed to build and is capable of doing things like that. That is not going away because it cannot take data out of thin air. Right? So it
of course
still
it
needs
can,
to be somewhere.
But
well, yes, it can hallucinate. I don't know. Weather is awesome. Like it's snowing. No, it's not.
Yes.
Just feed your SQL connection string, and there you go.
Yes, there you go.
Yep.
Like, what connection string do I need to have to access this? Oh, there you go. There is one with admin account, passwords in them. Perfect.
Yes.
From somewhere, right? It just came up with that. We have a few minutes left, and I'd like to touch on one more kind of aspect of your work.
I have one more thing as well. So,
community. Is it the same? There you go. We spent so much time together. We kind of read each other's minds. How did you get involved with that, and what kind of things do you do? Because it's really broad. Like it can be anything from organizing events and user groups to sharing code samples. So how did you roll into it, and what kind of different things do you do?
Yeah. So it actually all kind of happened by complete accident. So what happened was one of my colleagues who I used to like chit chat with, and we were like ping ponging ideas all the time. He decided he wanted to see if he could do his own thing, so he went off, which is fair, and he seems to be doing good. So great for him. Still mad at him, but we can have a beer, and that's great. So that happened, and I sort of like lost my good pal there. Then I went to ESPC last year with another colleague. And
European Collaboration Summit?
No,
European
ESPC.
SharePoint Office 365 Azure Conference, yes.
Yeah, the one with the long name.
Yes.
Which was in Copenhagen.
Yes.
And I went
Great
there with
venue.
a colleague.
Beautiful venue. So.
Absolutely amazing, actually. And that was my first conference, because I don't know if you recall, but for the past like many years, there's been this thing that made conferences not really a thing. Yep. So I got to go there. It was my first conference, and I went with a colleague who then got sick on the first day. So I was like, oh, I don't want to go back to the hotel room and do nothing. So I went on. There's an app for the thing, and I went there. And some people were going to Tivoli to do some Christmas market looking, and I was like, I'll join those guys. And I met a bunch of people who were all MVPs, and for me that was like MVPs. They're like technical masterminds. Wow, what is this? And they were all super kind and like took me along, and everything was awesome. And then I sort of figured out there that, oh, this thing is actually like, it's open to anyone. It's not just these people who are doing a thing online.
Yep.
And then probably the next day, Scott did his keynote on mentorship and sponsorship. And he said something along the lines of like, if you're writing an email helping someone out, why aren't you writing a blog post instead? So you can help more people, like save your keystrokes. And for me, that was just like a light bulb moment. And I went, that's a good point, because I'm doing these SharePoint pages internally right now where I'm writing guides. Why don't I take these pages and write them on the internet instead?
Right.
And it sort of just snowballed from there. So yeah, do a bunch of like blog posts now and a lot of SPFX and other code samples. Generally try to stay somewhat technical, because that's where my interest really lies. But it just sort of happened, yeah, and went to a collaboration summit in Düsseldorf in March, I think. Headed back for ESPC this fall. That was sort of my key takeaway. I went there and I got back home, and the first day my boss was like, "So how was it?" I'm like, "I'm going next year."
I'm going. You don't know that, but I'm going.
What's the value for you from your perspective? So of course there's a value for you because you keep on doing that. But for those who are wondering why are you, again, this is a classic discussion point. Why are you sharing your knowledge?
Employee to go to a conference.
Yeah. Yes. Or let your employees to share their code and experience and BII or information what they have with others. So
IP.
So I guess bringing it back to the start of the history just before, like that colleague I sort of, I'll say lost. Like the community kind of gives me that same thing where I have somewhere to share my ideas and get feedback.
Yeah.
And others share their ideas, and you can go, oh, that looks cool. I want to do that. Or, hey, have you thought about doing this way? So there's just this like whole thing where you're sharing things, and other people are bouncing ideas with you. And I think that for me is like the personal value is I get to like interact with people who think this is just as awesome as I do.
Yeah.
Because that's something you realize at some point during your career is that you think this thing is really awesome, but it's not. Not everybody thinks it's that awesome. For some people, it's a job, and that's completely fair as well.
Sure.
Sure. But I guess for the organization, it's a matter of like saying, for instance, all the samples that are, or the PnP core framework, which is being worked on. It's like these are things that will make us more money in the end, because they make our lives easier. Like PnP provisioning is a great example where I don't think there's any company out there who are doing provisioning by themselves.
Anymore.
Yeah, no.
They used to.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like 5 years ago when I started, the company I started had their own provisioning thing.
Yeah.
And it kept falling apart, and it's like, well, why aren't we 100 or 200 or 300 smart people working on this thing rather than us trying to figure it out better than our peers?
That is
so I think for me, yeah.
That's a great example, by the way. I still remember the one slide, which I'm not going to put on a blog post, from 2012 in MCM 2010. It was the last rotation for MCM, Microsoft Certified Master for SharePoint 2010 rotation. And there was a slide and a discussion point within the day, which I delivered, where we talked about, hey, because we cannot do site definitions, what if we would actually do client-side templates and all of that stuff, remote provisioning? And that's where it actually started, the remote provisioning kind of an idea and conceptual thing. And then we wrote a proof of concept with one of the customers, and then it has evolved significantly after that. But it's interesting. One of these things, that's a great example of one of the community things which just exploded, and it increased again the abstraction level. So rather than every single partner and customer building and spending time on writing the same stuff all over again and again and again, let's build it once, and then everybody can focus on their own specialties and skills. So that has an interesting storyline. I still probably find the first version of the provisioning engine and how it was looking. It wasn't looking pretty, but
it came on 10 floppies.
Yes.
You mean safe buttons?
Yes. Yes. Back in the days, we would print with 3D print safe buttons.
True. But yeah, that's a good example, and on the value of sharing for sure. Because and that makes every single company more efficient, which saves money, which it's always a good thing. So
yeah, so certainly, like I guess the money perspective is there if you're looking for it. It is actually pretty obvious. Like we're a bunch of people who are doing it, and it's helping us out. Like why not use it?
Yep.
And then there's also the whole sharing IP, where
correct.
My argument would always be we're not building spaceships. Like it's not, none of what we're doing is that complicated that others couldn't figure it out too if they wanted to.
Sure. They're public APIs. It's all documented. We're using exactly the same thing.
Exactly. Of course, we're only using the public APIs.
Yes, we only use the public APIs.
Any other APIs?
There's no other APIs. There's only public API. There are no other APIs. Good. Cool. That's actually really cool. Now, what's happening this week? Anything interesting on your side, Dan?
Well, right now I was working on the presentation for a community call that I'm going to be doing tomorrow, which is then Tuesday this week.
That's true.
Timing thing.
That's true.
And I'm working on a upcoming sample where I'm doing what I do best, and I take a SharePoint feature that still hasn't been modernized, and I'm modernizing the version history of files.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Because it's one of those things where you right-click and you just see this really
ugly
this page.
This page, and you see this thing.
It's an interesting page to show users. It's one of those where you like, you don't want to show that in the demo, but you kind of need to teach users that it's there. I think that's what I'm currently working on.
And of course, customer projects as well, but we cannot deep dive on any of that stuff. Waldek, what's on your table? What's anything interesting?
What's on my table? Yes, last week I spent some time on trying to build a connector I built a connector for Graph, right? And that's really cool because they allow you to bring your content to Microsoft 365 so that you can search across everything you own from a single place, right? And that's really cool. So I spent some time to build one on Node, and it's actually a pretty cool thing. So I've got a few more things I learned along the way with how do you work with the Graph JavaScript SDK? How do you debug requests? How do you handle long-running operations on Graph? So I hope to be able to carve out some time to write about it and to share things that I wrote in the open. Because like oftentimes it's like, yeah, I built this thing, it's cool, but like I want to get it out there. And oftentimes, it's just like I've got overfull plate, and it's all excuses. I know I've got overfull plate, and choose to do other things. I'm being honest here, like not, like no, I don't have time. No, I choose to spend my time in a different way. But in this case, I think it's really cool. I think people don't really appreciate the connectors for the power that they have, and I think it will be really cool for folks to give them a try because they are not that hard to build. And it's really cool to be able to really try and use the search abilities that you've already got in M365 already and be able to search across everything you've got and not have to think in apps. Oh, for orders, I have to go there. And for that, I need to go there. And like, why not be able to search for everything from a single place?
Makes perfect sense. I'm double checking my calendar. What am I doing tonight?
And any new versions of SPFX?
No, release candidate went live last week. We're looking into doing GA then within a week or two, so which should be fine. So that's 1.18, which is relatively stable. The new thing there is Node 18 support, which is good. So that's pushed through. There's a bit of a challenge internally because we have a dependency on the actual SharePoint code base on the Yeoman generator, which is then lacking us behind of all of the latest development.
There's nothing like a refactoring at scale. Like people don't really appreciate that until you have a huge code base and you're like, yeah, so let's bump the version, and you see like millions of broken tests, and you're like,
correct.
Let's not.
Yes.
Just get AI to do it.
For sure.
Yes. Hey, GitHub Copilot, could you please update all these tests?
Hey, AI, and it compiles. Let's just ship it. It's probably okay. So it's fine.
Never is.
I heard someone once say just ship it.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, so and maybe hopefully in the future we'll disconnect that dependency and we can do other things. What else? I do a quick 15-minute keynote on the Collab Days Helsinki on next Saturday. I need to prep that one. That's on AI and implications on that for us. Is it actually going to take our job or not? And of course it's not. So it's going to help us to be more productive and efficient. That's really the key of the AI. I really don't think anybody should be worried about their job as such. And if they would be, they are in a wrong role.
Well,
definitely.
What your job is. I mean, like there were
fair.
Folks, like back in the days, there were folks who would like walk across the street with pea shooters and spit across your window to wake you up. Now we have alarm clocks. So
exactly.
It will take away some jobs.
True, but then there are new jobs getting generated as well.
Yes,
so we're kind of
going to raise the bar.
Yes, exactly. Some of the abstraction layer again is moving, so we don't need to do the baseline jobs, and AI can take that. So, and if you think about, for example, the amount of people we are predicting how many developers we are predicting that we need to have to be able to keep up with an innovation. Yes, we need something like AI, which can help us to be more efficient because we cannot train that many people, which are needed for the keeping the curve of the innovation. But yeah, so that's one thing. A lot of other stuff and planning. We're looking into deprecating certain technical features that's taking time and all of that stuff. Because it's not just about shipping, it's also about taking stuff away. Taking stuff away is always a bit of a challenge. So because there's always some people who will be angry. So
well, yeah, you use it and now it's going away. So
yes. Even though it has existed there for more than 10 years. Yeah. But still, I'm using it. Why are you taking it away? Don't move my cheese, right?
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, nothing too dramatical on that perspective. But I guess that's it for now. Thank you, Dan, joining. Really good to have you on the show. Good to catch up as well. And thank you for your active participation on the community, on the samples and all of that. And looking forward to the demo, which is happening today or tomorrow or in the past.
September the 5th.
Sometime.
Yes,
September the 5th.
Yes. For anybody who's watching this after or listening this afterwards, go and have a look on the YouTube channel, the recording. I'm pretty sure that it will be pretty awesome. I've seen the solution, so it's looking really, really good. No pressure.
Yeah. No pressure at all. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Cool.
Thank you.
And looking forward to doing even more in the community in the coming months, I guess.
Excellent. Thanks, Dan. Definitely good to have you a part of the community. But now we'll jump on covering the weekly articles with Waldek. And I guess that's it for this interview. Thank you, Dan. Really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, Dan. Thank you one more time joining us on the discussion. See, I changed the shirt between the super fast.
Oh my God.
How do I do that? How do...
Time travel is real.
Yes, exactly. Cool. Anyway, so let's jump on the weekly articles. Going through them as well. So first of all, it's now visible on the thing. So first of all, we're going to start with the what's new in Microsoft Teams. Again, a monthly summary on the Microsoft Teams side from August around all of the new goodies and features and capabilities which are rolling out. These are a worth of gold to catch up and understand what's actually happening. And then they're referenced on more details in the documentation and different areas. So really, really, really cool stuff. Again, a lot of stuff. A lot of announcements, so that's really cool. Good. Then we had in the Teams blog, we also had a deep dive into the intelligent cameras, multi-stream and cloud IntelliFrame for Teams rooms. That sounds really interesting. This is basically the focus, the intelligence cameras, which are able to then zoom in and focus on the person who's talking and all of that stuff. And this is actually
that is really cool.
Really, really cool stuff. Yeah. We are seeing this at least in our team. It highly depends on the organization where people, even though they're sitting in Redmond in the meeting room, they're actually enabling their own laptop and cameras and basically saying that they are as an individual. So putting the remote persons and then the in-room persons on the same table, which is actually really cool. So helps a lot on setting the scene. Comparing how it was few years back, it was a bit different. I guess this is good direction for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I recall still the round thing, the round table that we would have in the middle of a table with cameras and all of that. Yeah, definitely. It's a part of having everybody take part in a meeting on equal foot, no matter if you are in a meeting room or alone by yourself.
Yep. I like we chatted at some point within this call. I still remember those meetings where we're like PM meetings on blah blah blah, and this topic is join on there 10 p.m. and there is no Teams details available, and then you're like, hey people, can you get me into the meeting, and then you come to me in that dark black box in the middle of the thing. I just want to listen, if nothing else. It's fine for me not engaged, but can I please listen? It's my game as well. We come a long way from there.
Definitely.
Anyway, Sarah Cummings had a blog post related on this great new feature. A lot of excitement on this one. So introducing new SharePoint News for email feature. And point here is that some people still use emails. It's not that we want people to necessarily just use emails, and it's a company cultural thing as well. But especially in Microsoft, a lot of communication still actually happens in email. It's such a large company. So rather than forcing people to come to your news, let's get the news where people are. As an alternative option, let's send it to them as a newsletter in email, if that's aligned with the company culture. Really, really cool new feature. It's basically then sending the email directly in a fully readable mode in any email client. So it's technically an HTML email. And we did record a nice video with Sarah on the feature as well. So where we walk through all of the different details and functionalities. Actually, apparently 20 minutes. That was a lot of chit-chatting with her. But also we talk about the future of this feature and capabilities. So what's kind of actually in plans. And most importantly, we also had a Sapphire, the bird called Sapphire, dropping in, which we, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. And there's Sapphire. So really important things.
That's cool.
Sarah has two birds. So
brilliant.
Cool. Then we had the monthly update on the Microsoft 365 admin site. So from the Microsoft 365 blog, similar kind of things, walking through all of the different announcements and then linking in the actual articles which have more details. Not that much again on August, but I'm pretty sure we keep on internally basically having this discussion that, yeah, relax now, still in August. It's going to be crazy in September and October. It's like, okay, so.
We are in September now, actually.
Now we are, yes. Now
yeah.
Probably start saying more and more. Today, as we're recording this, is a Labor Day in the US, which means free evening. Oh, yes, no meetings.
Well, no actually, now that you have time, I need to go.
Yes, indeed. Cool. Then we have 2 blog posts related on kind of similar related capabilities. I want to talk about these ones. Waldek?
Definitely,
right? So Teams recording. Yeah.
Yes. So we've got a few APIs that are paid on Microsoft Graph, right? And these are about extracting data from Teams in this case, right? Like giving you access to premium features that we have on Microsoft Graph related to Microsoft Teams and meetings and all of that. So this article goes into the pricing points, what is available, how it works, and what you can do with the endpoint. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out this article. And then another one goes back into goes into the Teams chat export APIs, because these are available too, right? So we had, for a little bit, we paused the billing on these endpoints, and now we kind of resume that, and you will have an overview in this article talking about the different options and so forth and so on. So definitely, if you are interested in interaction with these premium abilities, these APIs for Teams, definitely check out these articles.
I think it's actually a good way of saying that that these are accessing premium functionalities which are under premium licensing as well as part of the Microsoft 365 license. So it's kind of understandable from the cost perspective that they have a cost associated to that, because they are part of the premium. They have their own licensing anyway. So, or
Teams
alternatively,
chat, not really, right? Because Teams chat is a part of Teams, which is
just or alternatively, the amount of data what you're accessing is massive, and therefore there's a massive performance hit or a information or IO hit, CPU hit on the system, and it makes sense that there's a kind of a cost associated to it. Just to reiterate, we're not looking into having Graph APIs by general. All of them has a cost, only a subset of things which are premium or addressing significant amount of data. So it's good to be aware of that kind of a thinking.
Yes.
So good. Then we had adaptive card-based loop components, which are now in preview. What does this mean?
So these are components, like basically components that you might have seen, right? So a while back, we introduced the idea of loop components, which are in a way a widget, right? A widget that is always up to date, always showing the latest info. So you can share with somebody a widget, and if something will change, like imagine a support ticket or order, if that order will change, the widget will always show you up-to-date info, as opposed to being a copy of it at the time where it was sent. So for sending things like, project update tickets, and so on, it's a convenient way to always see the last info or latest info, right? And now there is a preview ability for you to build your own. So this is really a cool thing. If you are interested in this tech, interested in that ability, you will now be able to build the widgets by yourself.
Yep, absolutely, really, really cool. Cool opportunities there for partner ecosystem and customers as well to come up to innovate and new options and things. Now this one is actually from Waldek, from you and Sebastian. So Microsoft Developer Proxy 0.11.
Yes, correct. This yet another month, yet another version of Microsoft 365 Developer Proxy, which is the easiest tool to help you build robust apps that connect to cloud APIs like Microsoft Graph, like SharePoint APIs, or any other API in the world, right? And in the version that we share, we improved a few things, right? So one is, like, when you call the Microsoft Graph, we want you to, when you can, include the select arguments to specify the data that you need. But not every endpoint allows that. So we made the guidance that we show more accurate. So showing only the warnings when endpoint that you call supports it and you haven't included it. But it came with a big price because Graph is a big API. So we looked for ways to optimize it, and we optimize it a lot. So now you will see the guidance work more efficiently, quickly, so that you can get feedback quicker and immediately go into optimizing your app. So this is really a great improvement. And then another cool thing that I wanted to also show is that with Proxy, you can do many things. You can check throttling, you can simulate rate limiting, you can simulate mocking, you can do many things, right? So we wanted to give you some examples of how you could use that for different things. So in the sample solution gallery, we made available some samples basically to give you ideas like, hey, you can use it for this, you can use it for that. So basically give you a starting point for the different things that you might want to use it for. So two things, check it out. And two, if you have ideas, if you use it for specific things, do let us know, submit it there too, so that others can benefit from it too.
Absolutely, really cool. On the not related, but on the open source projects as well, CLI for Microsoft 365 6.11 is also out. This is doing a monthly release as well, right?
Correct. So with CLI, and we've been doing monthly releases for CLI for Microsoft 365 for I think 5 years now, or 6 years. 6 years. Yeah, in November is going to be 6 years, right? So we try to have this regular train release that basically whatever makes it, and whatever not makes it, well, next month is another release. So basically trying to release as often as we can. There are a bunch of improvements again in there. The biggest one is that at the end of the month, right, we are going to release V7. And that is kind of the liberty that we take once a year, where we clean things up, we optimize things, but it also means that we will break some things. So if you use CLI for Microsoft 365, take some time, test it out. We have a guidance that explains every single thing that has changed, and basically also offering you the steps to take to basically adjust scripts, the users that you've got, so that you can stay on the latest release and benefits from the updates that we implement. So definitely check it out, because it will have some great improvements.
Absolutely. Then let's move on the list of things. Laura Kokkarinen had a blog post related on how to implement Azure DevOps pipelines for SPFX solution that use library components. Really useful again. And when Laura writes, she writes them in a one step in an understandable way. So walking through the different options and clarifying things, which is awesome. So not leaving any questions related on that particular topic. That's her way of covering the topic. So
she writes really basically awesome. Our docs.
Yes, pretty much. Now, a lot of SPFX stuff. Here, SPFX click on an anchor is not working as expected. Event handler is not called. A blog post kind of sorting out and explaining the issue and how things are actually working by Mark DeAndre Schroeder-Schuh. That's yes, I think I got the pretty okay pronunciation. So, Dan Toft, who's who was the visitor today as well, I had a new blog post around using React and Fluent UI in SPFX command set extensions. So how to actually get started on that? What are the commands and installations? What I should be added? And then how do I actually use those things in the UX? I would always have a screenshot of what we're actually seeing here. But again, we can visualize basically what we're seeing as a primary button and all of that stuff. But and there's a full sample available as well. So thank you, Dan, on that. I can imagine. Please, Dan, please. I'm going to call this out. Please have a screenshot. Ah!
No screenshots.
Not yet.
Is there maybe one in the assets folder? No.
Okay. Well, we can. No assets folder yet.
Yeah,
There's an assets.
there is assets.
There is
Oh
an
no,
assets folder.
that
No
is the other
screenshot.
assets. No.
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
No images.
No images. Cool. And then there was a blog post from Leon Armstrong around syntax image tagging, boost your content with AI-enhanced image keywords. This is actually really, really interesting and a super cool functionality. So we're finally getting to the moment where, based on the image, we are getting metadata automatically extracted. So basically, here's an example. So that's a good example if we focus on that one as an example. So the AI is able to figure out beach, Caribbean chair, ground, outdoor, seaside resort, sky lounge, tropics, umbrella. That's actually really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that would be really important for us, like if you have a lot of images, to find the right images that you need without somebody having to manually add descriptions, keywords to them, right? So
Yeah.
And you could even imagine that, so this is extracting tag, but I wonder if there's also ability to have basically a fully fledged description of it for for things like semantic search.
Absolutely. Really, really cool functionality for sure. Awesome stuff. So, Michael Mendes had a blog post related using the HTTP with Azure AD connector in Power Automate to create planner plans, and add them as Teams tabs. So, there has been some changes related on HTTP requests connector support in Power Platform, and he talks about the alternatives and how we can actually make things happen and work around the deprecation of sent HTTP request. So changes on that side, and good blog post again explaining how to work around the problem. And here's the problem, here's the scenario, this is why we kind of do that. Here's a one solution how to make that happen. So great stuff.
Yeah,
these are really, really good and helpful for others to access.
And images too, right?
And images, yes. Sorry, I'm a highly visual thing, but it's one of those things where whenever there's a sample, we should be showing like, hey, this is how that you look like on the code. So even though it would be, but it's just a button. I get that, but the button, if it's using Fluent or whatever, it has a value. Now, on the tweet side, we tweeted last week, SharePoint Framework 1.18 release candidate is out. So we didn't do a blog post. I didn't have time to write that. So we updated the release notes and then shared an updates on the social media. Probably the biggest update is that the Node 18 will be supported in 1.18. And this is now the release candidate, so we're getting closer on that. So that's good, and Fluent UI updates and new layout options for your connection card. So that's been in the pipeline for 1.18 for a while. Adam Wojcik had a tweet related on the updated version for Viva Connection Toolkit VS Code. So really, really cool capabilities there. It is not only for Microsoft Viva. It's basically just positioned initially for Viva Connection, but you can use it in any SPFX solution to simplify your process. Awesome work by Adam there. Alex Clark had a sample available related on time to read solution, which is actually based on a Power App. So you can put it on the page and then it will figure out the time to read scenario. Thank you, Alex, on sharing that one with everybody. So cool stuff as well. And then on CLI, you had some news related on that one as well.
Exactly.
Actions.
Yes, exactly. So we've updated the GitHub action that we have that allows you to use CLI from Microsoft 365 to deploy your SPPKG solution to SharePoint.
Yep. Really, very cool. Simple, but so much needed stuff. Yes, this is good. So many people actually need this stuff. Now, on the video side, there was a promo around the Power Platform Global AI Hack, which is happening actually starting on September 14 to 28. And Brian Cunningham is inviting everybody to actually get started on things, so which is cool. And then the cloud advocates are talking about what that is all about. So awesome stuff. Juliana De Luca had a new video. Welcome back from the summer vacation. How to color folders in SharePoint and Teams. So how do we do those colors in the folders? And that's actually a small thing again, but it has a big impact because you can use the coloring to, as a metadata and differentiating of the folders rather than just the text. Makes
I
perfect sense.
wonder if there is a way for us to differentiate that for color blind folks.
Good question. Really
Patterns,
good question.
icons, that would be an interesting thing too, right?
True. I cannot confirm that. Now we're seeing some sort of an advertisement there. There we go.
Yeah, you clicked.
Yes. Don't click. You'll get an ad immediately. So Shane Young had a new new video around Power Apps conditional formatting and dynamic questionnaire. So basically building a solution and how that can be built. This is actually, again, really, really cool. Step by step explaining how things can be done for everybody on that particular scenario. So thank you, Shane, on that one. On the Power Hour, Laura Rogers, AW mentor on site, they were working with groups of people in Flow, so which is actually quite important as well. So basically, how does people who owns the Flow and how can we modify that and all of that stuff. So we're starting from having groups in the SharePoint side to then modify the Flow and what does it actually mean in practice and who can do what and where.
Cool.
And then the last one is actually, handling throttling exceptions with PowerShell, Microsoft Graph PowerShell SDK. So how do I actually handle those within your solution? And nice 5-minute video, a bit more than that, from Paolo explaining the models. So really, really cool stuff.
Definitely. Yep.
Good. We already went through what's happening this week. I can see a gajillion emails pending and people asking things on my teams right now, so I need to jump on them. What else is happening?
A lot. I think the most important part is that we will be back next week.
We will be back next week, and please use hashtag PnP Weekly on Twitter. Makes it easy for us to catch up on what you're writing. On top of the normal hashtags, please do use hashtags. Hashtags are a good thing in Twitter, but don't over-exaggerate the hashtags either. So every now and then, say like hashtag dev, hashtag tutorial, hashtag developer, hashtag.
Basically, the whole tweet is just a hashtag.
Hashtag, which is like, well, but that not like that. So. Thoughtful. But that's it for now. Thanks everybody for joining or listening. Thank you, Don. There we go. Dan for joining. Pretty close. Vesa, same thing.
Yes.
So.
No.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan, on joining. Good to have you on the show, and we'll be back within the new episode within a week. Cheers.
See ya.